This is the most powerful EDH deck I own, capable of absolutely demolishing an entire table in an instant. This is a slice of Sfinzione from Sfera Sicilian Street Food in Chicago. Guess which one costs more? Wait, shit! Back when Commander Legends released, I wrote about a Malcolm Keenite Navigator and Breeches Brazen Plunderer list that cost $10, won consistently by turn 5, and showed zero mercy. Malcolm says whenever one or more of your pirates deal damage, not just combat damage, but any damage to an opponent, you create a treasure token. See this practically free common that taps artifacts to shoot 3 guys? Bam! Thanks to Trickery Charm, it's dressed up as a pirate now, and every time it taps 2 booty to ping an opponent, you're rewarded for your trouble with 3 booty. You've just created a runaway machine that generates not only infinite profit, but also infinite pain. The Walmart corporate of commander decks, if you will. It's been 5 years since my original article, and this deck would live on as the basis of the modern-day Malcolm and Kedis CEDH combo list. Now, while those competitive lists cost thousands of dollars, the basic idea buried behind the $200 intuitions and $700 Mox diamonds is still dirt cheap. Inflation be damned. It's only gotten stronger with half a decade of new releases, so let's see how you brew a Storm deck for $10 in 2025. There's 3 main components to this Malcolm and Breeches list: the pingers, the type changers, and the combo starters. Once all 3 powers combine, you'll do some serious damage to all of your opponents, if not melt them to death right on the spot. The plan is to leverage creatures that ping each of our opponents so that, when they're turned into pirates, they'll get 3 treasures from Malcolm and 3 exiled cards from Breeches with every hit. Now, the gold standard for the pingers are the creatures that rely on artifacts to damage your opponents. They all immediately go infinite and win the game once they're pirates, since Malcolm consistently feeds them an endless supply of treasure. For example, a pirated Reckless Fireweaver, Ingenious Artillerist, or Weftstalker Ardent deal damage whenever an artifact enters, and then Malcolm turns that damage into more treasures, causing the cycle to repeat all over again. Similarly, a pirated Sunshot Militia Xiao Jun can tap your treasures to snipe people, a pirated Pendragon Strongbull can sacrifice your treasures to punch people, and a pirated Havoc Jester simply kicks people in the nuts whenever you turn a treasure into mana. Those are obviously the best creatures you can draw, but the next best thing in the pinger category are the creatures that damage opponents when you do literally anything else. For the purpose of this particular deck, I focused on spellslingers that trigger whenever you cast non-creature spells, or at the very least, instants and sorceries. Listing them all out would be redundant since they all do more or less the same thing, so go ahead and check out the deck list in the description for a full catalog. Also, like and subscribe while you're down there. Time for the type changers, the cards that actually coerce your sweet, innocent creatures into a life of swashbuckling on the high seas. This is where the $10 limit really becomes a challenge. There are many type changers available to us in Izzet, but some of them eat up too much of the budget, some of them are unplayable, and you have to include enough of them in the deck to see at least one every single game. Here's what I came up with. There's 4 cheap equipments that turn their wielder into specifically pirates, pirates if you say the word pirates, everything, and everything respectively. There's an aura that can temporarily change a creature into whatever type you want, and a not aura that can temporarily change a creature into whatever type you want. Unless that type's a wall. Imagecrafter and Amiiboy Changeling tap to affect creature types, Trickery Charm, Volatile Claws, and the Velasvel spells are instants that do it, and Leyline of Transformation is the only permanent that actively makes all of your creatures pirates all the time because it's the only one that costs less than $1 to do it. For the combo starters, you'll want to cast non-creature spells for as long as possible to keep the value chain going, and that's why the deck is basically 20% cantrip. Like the pingers, they're all mostly redundant, so go ahead and check that list for a full catalog. But I put a big focus on draw spells that are both relatively cheap to cast and possible to play a second time from the graveyard. I didn't have to be too picky. Any spell that costs 3 mana or less is practically free thanks to the fact that Malcolm and a Pinger generates 3 treasures per spell. Now let's talk about utility. Extremely cheap hexproof on instants helps tremendously. Not only can you keep the chain going by casting them, they can also either save Malcolm or your Pinger from instant speed removal while you're comboing off. The deck mostly ignores the board since it's racing to win the game as fast as possible, but in terms of removal, there are a few cheap bounce spells and counterspells to create just enough of a tempo buffer to let you reach a winning state. And lastly, let's go for the neat callouts, the cards that I think are neat and don't really fit anywhere else. Goldhound is the only reasonably costed way we can afford that ramps Malcolm out on turn 2. Goblin Matron searches your deck for a goblin so you can go find a gutter snipe. step through wizard cycles so you can go find Image Crafter. The kicker is that both of these can actually retrieve Amiiboid Changeling and the Bellisvel spells, since they're all technically both goblins and wizards. Run for Your Life gives the pingers that have to tap haste, and lets Malcolm and Breeches through crowded board states more easily. Finally, Curiosity just draws oodles of cards when all your creatures can ping every opponent for 1 multiple times a turn. And that's it! That's Malcolm and Breeches. You now know how they brew it, but why brew it this way? Because the $10 Storm list is powerful, straightforward, and best of all, it's cheap. So when you knock the entire table out on a turn 2 Unnatural Selection into turn 3 Malcolm, turn 4 Reckless Fireweaver Unnatural Selection activation into a Malcolm swing to get a treasure on the table, starting the infinite combo, you can brag that you spent more on your coffee this morning. If you're on the fence about combo, storm, even the CEDH experience, buy this deck. After all, if you hate it, you're only out $10. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and make sure you like and subscribe for more How They Brew It. See you next time!